Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to come along and share the little knowledge that I have around supporting fathers. And I've really enjoyed listening to the speakers this morning because they've done a lot of the work for me in regards to setting the foundations of the first 1001 days and the Nurture Care framework. And I'm pleased to hear some references to fathers, in particular in Dr. Uzma's presentation, specifically Practice 15 is committed to engaging with fathers. So my focus today, first of all, I apologize. I've got a bit of a dry throat because I wasn't feeling 100%. So I hope you do understand me. Okay. And also, I'm aware my accent can be quite strong sometimes. So again, I'll try to slow my speed down as well. Okay. As Ms. Khadija mentioned, I'm the CEO for Mellow Parenting. We are based in Scotland. We have developed a family of responsive care parenting programs that are used in the UK, but across multiple other countries and different cultures. So hopefully I'll be able to share some of my experience with that, and particularly when we were working with fathers and engaging with dads. Okay. This is an area that's I'm very passionate about, because even today, even though we are making references to fathers, the entire conversation, the entire conference has been focusing on the mum. One of the previous speakers mentioned that when fathers come into the surgery clinic, he's asking them to be patient, and your food might be cold or your cuppa might be late in getting ironed. I would go one step beyond that and say to the fathers, you should also be getting involved in this process. This is not a one-way process. You both need to be involved. My saying is, you can't clap with one hand. So you can't make a child with one hand. So both parties have to be involved in that process. Okay. So just to give you a bit of emphasis and a bit of research around the benefits of including fathers, this is some of my own research within this as well, as part of my master's when I was at university. And we know that infants who have more engaged, sensitive fathers show a lot less external behaviour problems. And this is at year 1 as they grow older. They also perform much better at cognitive functioning. So the relationship between the mother and the father is very unique. So a secure, responsive, attached relationship with the mum, children are much more likely to demonstrate more well-rounded internalizing behaviour. What that means is they're often a lot more confident, they have higher self-esteem, they're much better at regulating their own emotions. So these are all skills that the children learn from their mothers. Whereas a secure attachment and a healthy relationship with their father, it's completely independent from the mother. Children who have a good relationship with their father, as I mentioned, have better externalizing behaviors. They perform better in school. They have better socializing behaviors. They take a lot of less risk behavior. So it's more of their external behaviors that's linked to that relationship with the father. So if we want a well-rounded child, we do need to make sure we are involving mother and father in that process. It can't just be one way. Okay. So just to emphasize, a positive father-child relationship has been identified as a protective factor in child development that encourages resilience in the face of adversity. So we know many families, many children will face adversity, but when they have a secure relationship with their fathers, he becomes the buffer. He's that support network. And this is also proven to be very true when mothers are struggling with postnatal depression or mental health, or they're having difficulties to connect with their baby. Then if the father is able to step in, not only does that accelerate the mum's recovery, but it also provides that ongoing consistency support for the baby as well. So again, very, very important to include the father. Yeah. So I had planned this based on a workshop in Scotland, and when I normally do a workshop, it's quite intimate. There's about 10, 15 people, so it's more interactive. So I had planned to make this interactive, so we'll see how it goes, but hopefully we can get some input from yourselves. One of the first things I wanted you to do was think about the landscape of families and parenting and fathers. If you think about your own, if you're a father just now, think about what your relationship is like this. What is your role as a father? Think about your father. Think about your grandfather. Over the times across Pakistan, do you think as a society we are starting to see a different role for fathers? Or is it the exact same? Or possibly is it in the rural areas it might still be the same, but in urban areas we're seeing it slightly shift a wee bit. What do you think? Has anybody got some thoughts? No? Okay, I'll let you, yeah? Okay, it's largely disapproved. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so that's, and you feel that's across Pakistan, or well, you said largely more educated families, or young fathers. Okay, that's interesting. So, yes. Yeah. 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 Absolutely. And that's a very big thing, cultural, your cultural beliefs, cultural practices. So that idea that father's role is to be the breadwinner, he goes to work in the morning, he works hard, he comes home, and then he's tired, and then he relaxes, has his dinner. But throughout the day, mum looks after the baby, feeds them, changes them, dresses them, and she has to do everything, and she has to look after them. So what we're wanting to try to do is change that shift in mindset. And that shift has to come from a cultural perspective. But I'll come on to that next. Okay. One of the things on that note is really important to note, pick up, and is when we're talking about involving fathers, we're not expecting the fathers to be involved full on. We have to respect the culture as well that we're living in. So we can't just say, no, dads are going to stay home now and mums are going to go to work, unless that's what they want to do. But generally, we have to respect culture. So it's not about how much time the father is spending with their baby, it's the quality of the time. Even 15 minutes a day of good, I think one of the previous presenters mentioned, 15 minutes a day playing with your child is significant enough to see a positive change in that child's development and well-being. It will also strengthen that relationship and bond between the baby and father as well. So it's very important to note 15 minutes a day. So it doesn't have to be 24 hours a day. You don't have to be with them at the whole time. Okay. So I kind of just wanted to have a bit of a conversation here. We've mentioned one already. So there's definitely a cultural challenge around family. Do you think there are any other challenges about engaging with fathers? I would put out to you, possibly, do you think, even with your best intentions, as professionals, are we maybe not asking about dads? Are we not including dads in our work? So if I ask you to reflect on your own work, if you're doing practice, then when a mother comes to visit you in your centre, in your clinic, in your nursery, have you ever asked, where's dad? Why is he not here today? So he would be useful to be involved in this conversation. What would you do if if a father turned up with his baby to your clinic and the mum wasn't there? Would you continue with the appointment, or would you say, nahi, mum ki zarurat hai, jab mum farag hoegi, phir mum ke saath aana? So we would do that for mum. Why would we not do that for the father? So if we have to give this message, if we want a cultural change, we have to be the ones who make that change by giving that message. And that message is to the families that the father's role is equally important as the mother's role in that child's development. It's not just solely the mother's responsibility. And the only way we can do that is by demonstrating that we value the father's role, we value their input. Okay? So some of the barriers that I had in mind were cultural expectations, which is the biggest one, traditional gender roles, work commitments. Of course, fathers have to go out, they have to work. So if your clinic is during working hours, the chances of fathers being able to attend is going to be slim. But then we want to think, can we make our clinic a bit more flexible? Can we accommodate for fathers? Can the fathers maybe take 1 hour out or lunch break and come and visit us? So we have to start thinking a little bit more outside the box if we genuinely do want to involve fathers in the early years practice of children. Okay, the attitudes of fathers. So again, what do fathers expect of themselves? What do they see? What does it mean for them to be a father? Is it similar to what we want? What's the mother's expectations? What do the children think their father's role is? And again, what do we as practitioners think? So what are our attitudes towards the father's role? And then also what information is available. And again, it was lovely to see some of those cue cards just now, because they're included lots of pictures of families, lots of pictures of fathers, and it's not all one-sided. It wasn't just pictures of the mother and the baby. But what images are we putting out there? What messages are we putting out there? So if we think about your nurseries, your clinics, your kindergartens, I've not had the opportunity to visit them yet, but I'd wonder what they would look like if I walked through the door as a father. Would I feel like this is not a welcoming place for me? It's more focused on the mother, or would I feel safe here? Look, there's a picture of a dad holding a child, or there's another person, another father in here, or there's some offering support available for me as a father, because all the support that's available at the moment is only for the mother. What support is available for fathers? So again, what environments are we creating for them? and then obviously family circumstances as well. So I've got a few images here just to show you. A few years ago, I did a bit of work in Scotland, and I did a review of all the literature that was available. And then I also looked at the images that were on centres' walls, the images that were in hospitals, and what messages were coming out. And this is the kind of stuff that was presented. I know it might not be directly relevant to here in Pakistan, but the child's panel showed, when it was talking about child abuse, this picture was put up on posters and walls. Now, as a father, if I was to go into a building with a picture like this, even though I'm not abusing my children, I'm already feeling judged, that people are going to assume that I'm going to be quite a harsh parent, or I'm going to be quite neglectful. So the images we use are really, really powerful. Okay. And another one, domestic violence. Again, it's just a mum and a baby, and they're looking distressed and upset. So again, negative image of fathers. This is a family nurture approach. Look at the picture. Where's the family? It's a mum and a baby. If you're talking about family, then include the whole family. Yeah. This was the Scottish government. I'm pleased to see we have got them to change it. But if the one on the left is a family policy, and again, mum and 2 children. And then after campaigning, we managed to get it changed to include the father as well, because he's part of that family. So it's a lot of campaigning, a lot of cultural change, and a lot of push is what we need to do if we want to involve fathers. Yeah. So what messages are we giving fathers in Pakistan about their relationship to their children? So I want to sort of put that out to you, because I haven't had the privilege of going around and meeting. So again, think about it. Even if you're a father yourself, I mean, I can give you, I've still got some time, I can give you an example from me. Again, it wasn't here, it was in the UK. But I remember when my wife was pregnant, we went to the hospital for her appointments. And I'm very active. I'm passionate about this sector, this field. So I was there. I was in the room before my wife was in the room, because I wanted the knowledge. I wanted the information. And I remember every time I went down, I would sit there, and the midwife and the health visitor would talk to my wife. How are you? How are you feeling? How's the baby? How's things going? And she would never really connect with me. She would never really talk to me. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm also involved in this. I'm struggling. I'm finding it hard, but I could do with some help. But there was never really any sort of input or asking me, how do I feel about becoming a father? This is my first time I've done this. So a lot of fathers are going through this experience, but because of society and culture, they don't have an outlet. They don't have anybody to talk to. They can't share it. And especially if the society is thinking, men don't need to show emotions, or men don't get upset, or this is not your responsibility, don't worry. So if there is a father who wants to become involved, he's even being boycotted as well. So that was a very uncomfortable experience for me. In fact, even one time I remember I was asked to leave the room so that they could talk to her in private to check that there wasn't any domestic violence going on at home as well. So again, I felt like I was doing something wrong, and all I wanted to do was be involved in the pregnancy of my baby and my wife. So that's kind of my example. I don't know if you've got any examples of you think that we could do better, or some maybe not very good examples that you're aware of. If not, then I'll let you reflect on that as well, and then hopefully you'll be able to take some of that back to your practice. Okay. So I wanted to have a conversation that what message do I receive and what message do I give? When I say I mean yourself as a professional and a member of the community and a citizen of Pakistan. What messages are we giving around family, parenthood, motherhood, and the role of the father? Because it's about how we talk about it, and the more we talk about it, the more it becomes normal. The more people will start to stop thinking that there's something wrong or it's not necessary. So it starts with conversations. And that conversation starts with us as professionals having that conversation with the parents. Because at the moment, as soon as you say parenting, by default, your brain goes to mothering. So parenting and mothering is the same thing. But parenting obviously involves both parties. Okay. And then think about how you can create create more inclusive messages within your own workplace and practice. So that's really important. That's kind of the take-home message I want to give you today. Think about your own workplace, your own practice, and then if you were to put on a hat of a father coming in, what would he feel like? So you really look at it from that point of view. Okay, because small changes equals large cultural shift, and that's currently at this moment in time, Pakistan's at the very early stages of this cultural shift. In Scotland, it took us nearly a decade to actually make it sustainable. It's fathers are now part of the parenting policies, parenting strategies. Fathers get paternal leave, so that when the babies are born, they get time off paid. So they're getting the same rights as the mothers, and they get time off for hospital appointments for their babies, and they can work around the needs of their babies and their children, just as we would for mothers. And that's where I would love to see Pakistan sort of moving in that direction as well. Okay. Okay. And again, this was just a point of our own internal world. So do we make judgments and assumptions ourselves? So we always have to check with ourselves, because we are the front line. Well, you are the front line. The practitioners that we're supporting are the front line. So we've always got to make sure that they're checking their intentions and we're not accidentally being judgmental. Okay. So a little bit of a homework for you to take home with you. So these will be available, so you can print this off. But I want you to think, within the next week, as a result of this session today, what will you do to improve your practice to make it more father-friendly? And you have to do at least one thing. Hopefully more, but at least one thing. If you can change, then you've made a step forward to making this more practical. And then think about, within the next 1 month, what will you do to make your team and your whole organization more father inclusive? So the first one is you specifically, and the second one is your team and your organization. And then within the next 6 months, how will you know that your workplace is more father friendly? So you're going to have to do some kind of assessment. So maybe you can look at the moment we have 0 engagement with fathers, and in 6 months, maybe you've got 10 fathers who have visited your clinic for the first time. So that's a good metric that you're actually engaging with fathers more. Okay, thank you.